Hello, everybody, and welcome to step 3 of the 5 steps to healing Lyme for empaths. Today's step is all about invisible environmental and other toxins, how they make you sick, and what to do about it. Let's be pro-solution here. Knowledge is power. So in my practice, I find that this step of identifying invisible environmental toxins is often overlooked by the practitioner, and that oftentimes my clients don't even want to really address these issues, even if and when they do come up, making it a little tricky. I know people with Lyme have a lot on their plate. This is just one more thing to deal with, and it becomes overwhelming for people, and I get it. Yet if you really want to sustain your healing, I'm here to tell you that removing and reducing these toxins from your life will make a really big difference. And again, as empaths, your mental, emotional, spiritual, and energy bodies are very, very sensitive in being affected by these toxins. So please take care of your whole body, and let's start talking about what these are. And just because they are not visible to the eye does not mean they are not affecting you. So the first one I want to talk about is dental and jaw infections. In particular, cavitations. Let's start out with that. A cavitation is an infected hole in your jawbone. Gross, right? You know, it's really something else to discover these things. It comes from the removal of a wisdom tooth. Most of us have had our wisdom teeth removed. It comes from perhaps a root canal, or someone like me who's had multiple dental extractions. These extractions have not had the ligament removed and were probably not cleaned out properly using ozone and a laser. When that happens, these holes act as a breeding ground for bacteria and other toxins. Cavitations or silent infections have been found to contain not only bacteria, but biologically toxic material. I'm thinking that that's probably left over from mercury amalgams, crowns, the anesthesia, all sorts of things. Chewing tobacco, smoke from marijuana or cigarettes or whatever you're smoking. You know, the tubules in your teeth have over 2 miles of lymphatic system. And so just think about what you put in your mouth. Diet soda, coffee, non-organic coffee. Not that I drink any of those things, but, you know, in the past, before we got on board and understood what it meant to eat and drink healthy foods, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of things that delicate gum and teeth and oral health just absorbed and took in that's toxic to our body, let alone toothpaste and mouthwash and teeth whiteners. So all those things lodge in our body in different areas, including, you know, the gum and the whole mouth area there. So take heed and be cautious about how you take care of your mouth. And oral hygiene is probably the top thing to work on when you have chronic illness. So again, dental and cavitations are a major cause of chronic disease. And, you know, when I review clients' intake forms, especially someone who's coming in who's had chronic Lyme for years and they're just not getting the results they're hoping for, the first thing I will do is go over their dental and overall oral health. And I can tell you, of all the different pieces of work that I do with clients, this is the least favorite. Clients just don't want to deal with it. They'll tell me, I've had my mercury fillings taken out, and that's it. They shut down. They don't want to hear about cavitations. They don't want to hear about TMJ. They don't want to hear about, oh, there's so many things we could get into regarding teeth and mouth and how it affects your body's ability to heal and stay healthy. They just don't even want to go there. So I will continue to plant the seed as we go along, especially if they're having maybe chronic sinus infections and things that don't clear up. But it's very tricky. And let's face it, no one likes going to the dentist. Dental work is traumatic, especially when you're an empath. You're super sensitive to everything that's going on, and it makes it that much harder. So get it taken care of and be gentle with yourself. It is traumatic. Cavitations, you know, they go undetected for years. They contribute to the demise of your overall health. They allow Lyme bacteria to flourish. When your immune system is down and fighting multiple infections, it makes it difficult. So, you know, if you're going after the Lyme infections and they're not clearing up, you want to check for mold, and then you want to check for dental and jaw infections and really make sure that you shore up all those different avenues of microbes coming in after your body. So how do you know if you have a cavitation? There are several diagnostic tools that can determine if you do, such as the Cavitat, which is an ultrasound device. You know, they also suggested a CAT scan and an MRI, which I don't necessarily agree with. The best method of detection is definitely through using a cone beam CT scan, otherwise known as a capital C, B, CT scan, and or Cavitat device. You can also use applied kinesiology, which is a form of muscle testing, and frankly, I like to use both. I recently had a CBCT scan and then started working with a new practitioner who does muscle testing, and I had her muscle test my 4 quadrants to see what she found, and I didn't tell her anything about the scan, and she nailed it. So not only do I feel good on her protocols, it was just a really nice confirmation that her muscle testing is very good. So that was really nice. You know, treatment involves surgically removing any dead bone, tissue, or other debris. Again, followed by the use of ozone and laser to create a really sterile environment, which will hopefully prevent healing at the site and ultimately help your body heal from systemic infection. A couple years ago, I did detect cavitation, and I flew to a clinic in Tijuana and had some cavitation surgery done there. And I have to be honest, I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not sure where I stand with it, but I'm glad I had it done. Okay, dental infections, you know, so there's infection in the jaw from a hole that's left from an extraction, and then there's infections in your teeth. Also, another invisible toxin, a silent infection that wreaks havoc on your body, definitely causes and contributes to systemic infection. And, you know, your dentist, preferably a biological dentist, can detect infection through, you know, I don't know, this sounds ridiculous, but an x-ray and tapping on your teeth. I can attest that I have had infections in my teeth, and they've tapped on it and my tooth has felt fine. And the dentist would argue with me and say, if you had an infection in there, you'd be jumping off this chair. And I can tell you, a couple months ago, tapped away, took an x-ray, didn't see anything, told me I was fine. I paid another $600 for him to fix cavities. And a month later, I went to a biological dentist who I talked into giving me an x-ray and looking at it. She pulled the tooth out, and she was shocked at the amount of infection in there. So, you know, tapping and x-rays aren't always foolproof there. So be careful. So you want to work with a biological dentist, and you can find one in your area by going to iaomt.org. It's listed here. And check them out, find out if there's one in your area. And just because they're a biological dentist and they might be certified by IAOMT doesn't mean they're necessarily a good fit, doesn't necessarily mean that their philosophy or perspective is in alignment with yours, and doesn't necessarily mean that their personalities are something that you resonate with. And when you're going to have work done that's traumatic to the body and you're an empath, you really want to make sure that you feel comfortable energetically, that you have good rapport with whoever that you're working with, and you have to do your own research, and you want to find referrals and really take your time finding a biological dentist. Okay, really, really important. The other thing I want to talk about is as an empath, you know, really trusting your gut instincts and so for instance, like I said, I had that infection in my tooth. I'd been to 2 oral surgeons. They refused to take it out. I went to another very progressive dentist who looked at me straight up and said, you're crazy. You don't have any infection. I knew I had infection. I mean, intuitively, I knew it. And then, of course, I had a chronic sinus infection. It was only one side of the face. It started to go up into my eye and then up into my brain. I think I'd been staving it off, taking herbal antimicrobials for a year or 2. And then at that point, I broke down and took an antibiotic. And when that didn't work, after a week or 2, I knew something had to be done. So really trust your gut instincts, regardless of what everyone outside of you tells you. If you feel like you have an infection and you know it, you keep following through with it. Trust that intuition to come up with conclusions about your health. And know that down the road, if you keep persevering, they can often be confirmed, like mine was, by the second or third person who took an x-ray. She finally saw it. And I have to wonder what they all saw and what their training is. I don't know if the one guy needed glasses or what, but clearly I was and still am a little irritated about spending probably $2,000 to $3,000 in the course of 4 months for a lot of aggravation by dentists and surgeons who gaslighted me and acted like they were God when I clearly told them straight up I knew something was going on with my body, but I wasn't sure what. And I was told repeatedly, well, how do you know? Well, what makes you think that? I mean, talk about feeling like a child sitting in the dentist chair and explaining what's going on. And the more I explained, the more they looked at me like I was crazy and didn't know what I was talking about. So trust your gut, empaths. Just trust your feelings, your knowing, your senses, and gut instincts, and move forward till you get it taken care of. Please know, dental and bone infections are serious. Take care of them as soon as possible. Do not mess around with them. Get them taken care of right away, and rule those things out if you want to maintain and especially sustain your health. So the next invisible toxin I want to talk about is, and I'm pretty passionate about this issue here, and it's a big one, and it's pretty scary, frankly. So EMFs, otherwise known as electromagnetic frequencies, and microwave radiation are, they're invisible rays of harmful radiation that we're bathing in daily on an ongoing basis. EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, again, and microwave radiation are used and found in all common wireless products, such as your phone, your computer, your tablet, your modem that comes in your house, any of your smart meters, etc. Okay, really, really big. These cause significant health problems. Some of the common symptoms linked to EMF exposure, if having Lyme isn't enough, if having mold isn't enough, as if having all these other viruses and microbes to deal with and being an empath isn't enough, are, and this is a lot, headaches, anxiety, insomnia, restlessness, heart palpitations, ringing in the ears, fatigue, depression, facial redness. So I was reading on a post on Facebook the other day, 5G is going up in our neighborhood, and she said whenever she drives down a certain road, her face turns red and gets really, really hot. Forgetfulness, nervous system and endocrine system dysregulation, reduced immune function, increase in pathogen production, and a decrease in your gut microbiome. Okay, it's really, really big. And what I'm starting to see, even for myself right now, and definitely for clients, is an increase, not for me, but for clients, heart palpitation. I've developed ringing in the ear since I moved from the mountains into town. There's a certain restlessness and anxiety and insomnia that I'm hearing a lot from friends and clients that I think I'm relating to the use of EMFs and microwave radiation that we're being exposed to. So since you already are health challenged Lymies, dear lovely Lymies, you have to do everything you can to reduce your exposure to all of these. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of jump into this a little bit here. So my biggest concern right now, if you are up on these things, is that we are shifting from 4G or fourth generation broadband cellular network to 5G, fifth generation, making us able to access information even faster, better, bigger, and far more serious to your health, right? So we're going from 4G ugly cell towers to 5G requiring wireless antenna. They're going to put them every few feet on every lamppost and utility pole in your neighborhood in a matter of probably 3 to 10 years, making exposure to EMF and microwave radiation almost impossible to avoid. So 5G has already gone up in 4 major cities. I can think of Houston, somewhere in Indiana. It's going up in Boulder County. So just to give you some perspective, 5G technology gives off the same dose of radiation as airport scanners. It has been proven that human skin acts as an absorbing sponge for radiation, being especially dangerous, of course, for babies, pregnant women, the elderly, the sick, and poses a serious threat to our plant life and ecosystems as well. So this is, this is scary. And knowledge is power. So I want you to know this. I want you as empaths to be able to discern how much of your symptoms are from the bacteria, the fatigue, the brain fog, the insomnia, the heart palpitations, how much is from the energy that you pick up from people, places, and things, and how much is from this new piece that you really need to be wary of and educate and protect yourself from, of EMFs and microwave radiation, okay? Everyone loves Elon Musk. He's done some seemingly wonderful things around water for people, but recently he announced a plan to launch 12,000 low orbit satellites to beam ultra fast, lag-free internet connection to every center of the earth. In other words, he's beaming 5G from space. It's huge. It's like, the people with mold are going everywhere they can to get rid of houses and mold. And those people who are super sensitive to EMFs and radiation, there's not going to be any place for them to go. I already have friends who, gosh, they're in their 60s. They live out of their van and in the woods. And I bumped into the one guy the other day at the health food store. And I said, how's it going out there? His partner, she's super sensitive to EMFs. I think she has Lyme and tons of heavy metals, but she refuses to deal with any of that. But he said it's crazy. They're camped in the middle of nowhere, and yet the hunters come through with their bows and their arrows and their guns, and they've got, their cell phones, and they're being tracked by satellite, and so they know where everyone is. There's just really no getting away from this. It's huge. So I really want you to know about this. If you want more information about what Elon Musk is doing, you can go to a website called hopedance.org. And I believe that's Arthur Feinstein or Feinberg's site. He's out of Santa Fe, and they're really working hard to keep 5G from going into Santa Fe. I'm not sure where it stands at this point. Go ahead and check out that site if you want to learn some more there. Okay, so solutions. What can you do? What should you do? I mean, how can you possibly take care of yourself? So I'm going to rattle off a whole bunch of options, and I want you to lift yourself out of any fear. I want you to take a deep breath and, go back to this when you have a moment and write some of these things down. And for now, just track 1 or 2 items that ring true to you that you can integrate into your life today. So the first thing which I'm helping you to do here is to understand EMF behavior and symptoms. Then you want to use meters to measure hotspots in your home, in your office, especially in your bedroom, in your car, and even in your neighborhood. And you want to use someone who does, if you can find them, BAU biology. It's BAUVIOLOGIE. They started in Germany, and they've been educating people on this issue for 50 plus years. I can tell you that I think I probably mentioned this before, but I'm going to bring it up again. I had someone come in when I bought this house a few years ago, and he had very refined, sophisticated equipment, and we went through the entire house, found the hotspots, checked all the circuit breakers. They're marked. There's about 6 out of 12 that affect me very strongly, that I turn off at night and leave off even during the day when I can. What else did he find? My neighbor has got, must have some heavy duty stuff in her house because there's a wall that really affects my side of the house here. My neighbor on the other side, he checked each direction and found out how much Wi-Fi and radiation was coming from each one of the directions outside in the yard. And so I know where I'm being bombarded the most. So really fascinating, but also very empowering to know this information. And I also mentioned, but I'll repeat the story again, I had a client in Berkeley who was very flatlined. She was non-emotional. She was very neutral. She'd seen all the best mold people, all the best Lyme people. Her diet was meticulous. She just couldn't figure out what was going on. So after about the second session, I finally said to her, how many cell towers are within 10 miles of your house? So she got into a site called antennasearch.com. I believe she had something like 34 towers within 10 miles of her house. And we had her take a vacation in a low cell tower area twice, and she came back from both of those vacations feeling noticeably different. She hired someone who does biobiology, and next time she called in for her next session, she was animated. She had emotion in her voice. Her life force had come back. It was really, really dramatic. Another story I would share was the guy who came in and worked on my house had a client or knew of someone who was having serious psychiatric disorders for years and was not getting any help with her psychiatrist or with psychotherapy in general. It turns out she had a modem in her bedroom that was on all the time. And within 48 hours of taking the modem out, all her psych issues cleared up. So if you're someone that's prone to a lot of anxiety, has mental health challenges, really check out the Wi-Fi issues, please. I feel like I'm missing something here, so I'm looking over my notes. Okay, so the other thing is to use an anti-radiation headset, speakers. Use EMF reduction products for your phone, for your computers, for all of it. Refuse to use any 5G phones, guys. Any 5G phones or devices or anything that has the word smart. We're talking smart meters, smart appliances, smart heaters, all of it. Just don't even go there. If you have chronic illness and you are an empath, please, please, please look at your need for technology versus your health and figure out what your priority is, okay? You can buy EMF protective shields for your cell phone, again, for your computer, and for your modems. They have protective shields for all electronic devices. At nighttime, I just shut everything off. I have a switch here. Phone goes out, computer goes out. I switch from Wi-Fi to Ethernet, which means there's no Wi-Fi coming directly into my house. I have to hook up to my computer with an Ethernet cable. And my kids get really aggravated because they don't have cell phone. They have some cell phone, but they don't have a Wi-Fi connection on here, and it flusters them and they get frustrated, but it's good for them. There is EMF protective clothing you can wear, and you can get onto some sites. I'm going to give you a couple links here in a moment. There are also glasses that you can wear for the blue light. There's a wonderful EMF protective tent that you can buy and sleep in. If you've got an extra $1,000 floating around, I would invest in that, because when you sleep, that's when your body restores and does all its healing work. And if it's being bombarded with radio frequencies, microwave radiation, and EMFs, and you're living in a city and you're in close proximity to cell towers, and with 5G coming in, probably one of the best investments you can make for your health. And one of the other things, empaths, on an energetic level, I was at a little crystal circle healing the other day. I hadn't been around those people for a while. And, they use shungite from Russia to protect from EMFs, not only from EMFs, but negative energies and entities. And I was kind of skeptical about that, but I have to tell you, she passed around a piece of shungite and it was amazing. It was probably the strongest crystal experience I've ever had it just felt like it pulled all the negativity right out of my field. So I have yet to buy a piece. This a couple of weeks ago. I'm still researching what site I'm going to go to and what kind of piece that I'm going to get, but I'm really going to recommend that as maybe a starting place for some of you. Okay, so some of the resources I want to empower you with are lessemf.com, lessemf.com, real solution-based site there, with Jeremy Johnson. Remember to look up Jeremy Johnson TED Talks. He's a former physician in San Francisco, or at least his wife was, and then he got hit with EMF sensitivity. And I spoke with him, and he said he and his wife go camping frequently as a way to kind of reboot their system and limit their exposure. And I don't know where he's at with all of that now. That was a couple of years ago, but that's a great site. So go ahead and check that out if you're feeling skeptical or unsure. eluxmagazine.com. Elux is ELUXE magazine.com/magazine/danger-of-5G/. Again, that's Elux Magazine, ELUXE magazine.com/magazine/danger-of-5D/. And, there's another site, drgloryanne.com, and that's GLORINE.com. And I think what I'd really like you to look up is Dr. Mercola and Dr. Klinghardt have a really awesome hour talk on EMFs and how it reduces the gut microbiome and all sorts of other things. There's tons of talks that Klinghardt has done on this issue that are really well worth your listening to, as well as Mercola. So the next thing I want to talk about are more invisible toxins that most of us have either been affected within the past or are being affected now. That I just want you to just do a quick mental check and see. I'm sure if you have Lyme, you know if you've got mold or not. I'm sure you've probably tested for radon, but if you haven't, please do. And plastic's another invasive biggie that affects all of us, and it's probably really hard to reduce your usage, but there are a lot of things you can do for that. Oops, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. Whenever everyone says just use those little arrows, and whenever I do, I get this little beep. So, okay, moving right along. Mold. I'm not gonna, I'm not an expert in mold. I'm just gonna say mold is a silent, often invisible, and dangerous toxin. A lot of people consider mold illness to be a co-condition of Lyme. I didn't know this. There are over 150,000 species of mold in the world, but only some of those are dangerous. It's thought that mold toxins cause DNA damage. Yeah, that's pretty scary, huh? Mold illness is often referred to as CIRS, chronic inflammatory response. And mold illness can prevent Lyme treatments from working. So, between dental jaw infections and mold, it's tricky. Do what you can. Take care of that mold first. A lot of you might have to remove yourself from the toxic environment. You'll have to clean thoroughly and remove all mycotoxins. And before you start treatment, you want to open up those bowels and make sure they're moving. Support your detox pathways so your body can rid itself. And, work with a doctor who knows about mold and how to clear it from your body and get on a protocol right away. You can start with some charcoal. Oh my gosh, I like Desbio. They have a really nice homeopathic FNG fungus mold. I forget what the N is for. Blend that I like to use. And of course, Shoemaker has his protocol. And there's a lot of controversy on whether you need to move out, whether you need to get rid of all your clothes and furniture or not. I can't even go there with you. It's a huge issue. I have had mold in my house when I first moved here from a leaky washing machine, had it remediated, and still need to get an Ermite test to see what's going on there. So make sure you get an Ermite test, a test for Dr. Shoemaker's top 5 mold species, or a Hertz-Me test. And you can do that by going to Enviro, BIOMICS.com. You can also go to survivingmold.com to read up more about it. There's just a plethora of information there on mold. So I imagine a few of you are already on it, a few of you have already been through it, and a few of you are contemplating if it's an issue for you at this time. So have your house mitigated, move out, sell all your possessions or not. Do your due diligence, do your research, and empaths, go inside of yourself. And when you read this information, I want you to keep researching until you find websites and links that really resonate with you. I want you to go, yes, that rings true. That's my issue. That's what's going on. I want you to follow through with it and trust your gut instincts. That's what they're here for. Okay, so as you know, I'm going to move something here. As you know, radon is an invisible, highly toxic, rare radioactive gas that, yes, people, it does cause cancer. So radon causes cancer, mold can do DNA damage, and Wi-Fi, 5G most certainly is carcinogenic. They don't even know the extent of the damage it's going to do. It's so new. So let's take care of what we can. Radon is probably one of the easier things to take care of. It's also the second leading cause of lung cancer. Symptoms include persistent cough, wheezing, hoarseness, shortness of breath, chest pain, and chronic infections such as bronchitis and pneumonia that kind of never go away. I know when I lived in the mountains, I'm here on the Front Range, we were surrounded by, I think it's granite, and when we were looking to buy a house out there, I remember going in and out of houses with the realtor, and I can pretty much tell you, my lungs will seize when I've been in a house that's high in radon, and they do something completely different when I'm around a house that has mold. Because when I was looking for housing in Boulder after the flood, I'd say probably 60% of the places I looked at had mold. I would bring them up with them, and they just, one, it's illegal, they can get in trouble, but two, I think they were oblivious to the dangers of mold. And again, two, I do have a sixth sense. It's not even a sixth sense. My body reacts very strongly. My lungs will let me know if there is radon. So have your house tested and mitigated. What they do is they run a pipe up from the basement area, wherever it's coming from, out an attic vent or out the roof, or they find a place in your house that's suitable to constantly be moving it out. My neighbors have radon. I tested twice because I'm paranoid, or super cautious, I should say. And my radon, fortunately, here is very, very low, at least in the part of the house that I had it tested. Okay, so let's just move right into plastics. Plastic, it's a toxic chemical. It leaches out. It's found in our blood and tissue of almost everyone, and it's getting worse. It's carcinogenic. I know. People get tired of hearing that word. It's cancer causing, causes birth defects, immune system suppression, developmental problems in children, and endocrine disruption. It is not biodegradable. It chokes ponds and rivers. It kills sea life and makes soil less fertile. It's a no-brainer. Don't use plastic to the best of your ability. Bring your own coffee mug. Use cloth bags. Don't use straws. I hate those posts where they say, oh, we're going to shorten the straw and it's going to make this huge difference in the environment. Just don't even use a straw. Don't even go to those places that sell junk that you buy in a plastic cup. Let's see. I personally have bought those wooden spoons and forks and keep them in my car. I will have a glass container for takeout and a coffee mug to go in the car, as well as for the dog. He's got his glass jar of water and a ceramic bowl in the car for him as well. So, especially the Tupperware, people just make an effort not to buy plastic storage units, period, across the board. We survived without plastic. Our grandparents used boxes, and there's lots of glass, quote, Tupperware places where you can store food. So please just use those. Now, plastic bags for garbage, that's a whole different thing. You can buy biodegradable, and that is an option. So the good news is there's more options out there than ever. The good news is that people are starting to understand this more and more, and it's making the mainstream news. So, start with yourself first. Be the change that you want to see. And that will start to mentor people around you. You start doing it, then your kids will doing it. Maybe your spouse will doing it. Maybe he'll just give you a hard time about it. I don't know. And then your friends, I know people will still look at me funny when I'll say no bag or carry my cloth bag. So it's really an education process for people. You only have control over yourself, so do what you know is right. Whoopsie. So house cleaning and body care products loaded with toxins, right? They contain VOCs and other toxic substances that I don't want to get into, but I am going to tell you to please. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, people. Don't use air fresheners. That Febreze is horrendous. If I ever go into an office or any place that has Febreze, I'm not kidding, I take it and I throw it in the trash immediately. And I talk to the secretary or whoever's out there and I let them know the dangers of it. And they look at me like I'm crazy. You know, frankly, I don't really care. I let them know of the great alternatives that are out there, and I will continue to throw it out whenever I see it. You can say it's none of my business, but if it's in my face and I'm being exposed to it, it is my business, and I make it my business. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it, okay? So just sharing that. Don't use, the most toxic things are, of course, as you know already, dry cleaning, rug or upholstery cleaners, countertop cleaners, oven cleaners are really nasty. You know, one of the easiest ways to do on oven cleaners is just to use baking soda and peroxide, paste it on there and let it sit overnight. It's amazing how well it works. Furniture polish, I don't know if anyone uses furniture polish anymore. An old woodworker friend of mine would use rancid oil that had gone bad, maybe olive oil or whatever they had in the house, to polish up his wood, and I do that to this day. It's not super rancid. It doesn't smell. It's just not, you don't want to consume it. That's all. Non-stick cookware. Hope none of you are using Teflon. I don't want to elaborate, but please don't. You can use cast iron. You can use Le Creuset. You can use, Dr. McCullough has a line of clean cookware. Really throw out any sort of Teflon or coated stuff that you have. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and look up the dangers. It's really, really big. Think about it. You're heating that pan up and you're heating those toxins, and then you're putting it directly into your body. So really big one. So stop using all of those and switch to natural and alternative solutions. I think I mentioned before, I've got a gallon of non-chlorine bleach. I've got a bottle of white vinegar. I use a lot of, I changed books. I use a lot. I picked up some 7th generation products recently. I always have baking soda and peroxide ready to go. And I do love the essential oils. So I love thieves, tea tree, oregano, thyme, and clove oil. So that's the good news about cleaning products, is that there's a lot of alternatives out there, okay? The other thing, and my top priority, is to make sure they are not tested on animals, please. Make sure they are green or eco-green products, and make sure they're genuine. There's a lot of green washing going out there, so you have a lot of large company pretending to be green that's saying they're green, and all you have to do is turn over the label and read it, and you can see they're not. So make sure you use those tried and true 7th generation products. Myers, even the Myers claims to be green, and it's loaded with synthetic fragrances. I can't even be around them. Again, I clean with a lot of white vinegar in a spray bottle, and I add a little unscented dish soap from 7th generation. I use non-chlorinated bleach and something called Bon Ami. It's not spelled there correctly, but it's BONAMI. It doesn't have any bleach or nasties in it. And again, just research your products. All the health food stores have really great options. Open the bottles up, smell them. I'm always astounded at the amount of house cleaning products that people have under their sink and under their bathroom, or God forbid you go into their garage and it just stinks. Please, all of this takes a toll, not only on you, but your kids, anyone who walks through there. And think about where those products get stored when you're done with them. They go into the landfill. So there's just no excuse to have those toxic house cleaning products in your home anymore. Please make it a priority to get rid of what you do have and just limit what you do use to maybe 3 to 5 products, hands down, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be amazed at how well they work. Okay, so body care products, make sure you buy locally made skincare products. I think that's really the best way to go. You want to turn them over. You want to make sure they have a limited ingredient list. And if that doesn't work, you want to make your own products. Body care products, they're loaded with toxic chemicals, parabens, phthalates, linked to hormone imbalance, reproductive problems, and cancer. Think about it. Where are you putting those? Directly on your skin. Your skin is your largest organ. It absorbs it right in. It goes right in. Underarm deodorant goes right into your lymphatic glands. It can contribute to breast cancer. By the way, not having infections taken care of in your teeth and your jawbone. Each tooth is related to an organ. You want to look up those organ meridian charts. I can't believe I forgot that. And there's quite a few studies there showing how breast cancer has been taken care of once the tooth that was linked to that organ meridian was healed and taken care of. So read labels. If you can't pronounce or eat it, don't use it. And you know, I'm not quite that pure, but I totally get it and resonate with that. If the ingredient list is more than 5, maybe 10 at the max, I wouldn't buy it. Make your own. Buy, again, from local companies. And I like to buy from local companies because the people who make those love what they're doing. Those products are made with love and intention and clarity, and they're on a mission to educate and provide healthy skincare products for the world out there. And as empaths, you're very sensitive to vibrations. And so a product that's made from a small company, you're just going to resonate with so much more, and your body's going to love it so much more. So just, you know, take the time. We've got a Rebecca's Apothecary here. She's got a wonderful line of handmade products there. I've been making my own products for years. I have a Goddess face and body cream. I have an anti-pain castor oil blend that I use, and I also have arnica, calendula, and St. John's wort salve that I make. When I lived in New Mexico, I had a huge following for those products, and the Goddess face and body cream here is a big one as well. And not so much the salves. Okay, so regarding skin, you can use like an MCT coconut oil that's not going to solidify, and use that on your feet, your elbows, your face, your whole body. You can melt a little beeswax, add some coconut oil, shea, and cocoa butter. You know, for those of you who are creative, it's fun to check out all the different cool bottles. You know, they make them in cobalt blue and deep forest green. And if you're lucky, you'll find some in purple, and they have clear glass. And I just love going to herb stores and buying my organic cocoa butter and shea butter and flowers to put into it. Sometimes I was making my own soaps. It makes me really excited. I love connecting to the plants that way. And if you're an empath, I suspect you probably love to do that as well. It's fine to go smell the oils and figure out what oils you're going to add to your lotions and your creams. So just make your self-care fun and enjoy it. One of the things I'm going to share with you is I want you to check out a YouTube. It's called How to Make DIY Face Cream by Rosemary Gladstar. Rosemary Gladstar started California School of Herbal Studies that I went to a long time ago. She taught me how to make this wonderful, wonderful cream, and I make it to this day. I've made it for 25 plus years. So if you really want to treat yourself, you can either look it up on YouTube or you can just Google Rosemary Gladstar cream, and I'll give you the ingredients and just make a list. And you don't have to buy everything all at once, but it's really, really well worth it to gather everything up, and maybe a couple weeks or months later, especially with the winter coming up, start making some of those products, and you can use them for holiday gifts, and you can educate your kids on how wonderful these creams are. And most of all, as Rosemary would say, you can anoint yourself lovingly with these lotions. She always put on the side of her products to only apply with loving thoughts. And I love that. She was one of my mentors, and to this day, I miss her and love her and really do look up to her. So final thoughts. Well, I couldn't get this off of here, and so I just left it. Kick toxins out of your home. There's lots of invisible toxins out there. Reduce your toxic load. As these toxins, these invisible toxins are silent killers, as I've mentioned a few times. Educate yourself. Knowledge is power. I know I keep repeating that. So empaths, please, when you educate yourself, don't get triggered into fear about it all. Take a moment. Understand the ramifications of what's going on, but don't allow yourself to fall into that hole of feeling like a victim. Nothing's going to change. This world is doomed. Please don't go into doom and gloom. Shift that mindset very quickly into one of empowering yourself and making a list of how to be proactive, okay? All it takes is one person at a time to make these changes. We can't continue to look outside of ourselves for everyone else to do it. You make the change from within, okay? Again, as an empath, you are more sensitive than others, and these toxins affect you more than most people. Reduce your exposure. Take control of your health. And if you want help and you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, allow me to guide you into integrating these steps into your life. And you can sign up for a Lyme discovery session. And I'm just going to remind you that if you sign up for my 4-month or 9-month Lyme program, it's 20% off through the month of October. I love you all. And until next time, Najoni and Namaste.